All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Nutritional Frontiers Wellness Wednesday. We are together at the Nutritional Frontiers headquarters. Jamie Dorley, CEO and owner of Nutritional Frontiers. Joe Messino, the godfather of nutrition. And I'm Tracey Stroup, and I will be your host. Pray for me. I am trapped.
She's got her hands full, Joe. There's no restreaming here. This is live and in person.
And Jamie, we have a tendency to talk with our hands.
I know.
So our hands, they
get a
will
little
be flying
bruised up
today,
there.
so it's okay. Don't worry. It's all in good fun.
Well, we're going to be talking about our November specials, which is men's health. And I know that, we have to talk about men. I have a lot to say.
Uh-oh. Will we get a word in today, Joe? I don't think so.
I don't know.
Oh, we focus so much on women's health.
Yes, we do.
Kids' health, GI health,
Right?
immune, and now it's time for men's health.
Now it's time for men. Well, this is great because November, we're focusing on the products that Nutritional Frontiers has in stock for your healthcare facility or even you personally, if you are working with a healthcare professional that can really enhance your health.
Yes.
So give me a little bit of background on some men's health issues and statistics.
Well, the number one killer of all people in our country, and especially men, is still cardiovascular disease, right? It could be heart attacks, could be strokes, it could be congestive heart failure, right? All these different complications. So that's still the number one issue that's affecting now. When you start adding in cancers and diabetes, we learned today those are some of the top conditions that are affecting everyone in our country. And then it could be some symptoms that lead to that, right? Like elevated blood lipids and, blood pressure is a big thing. And it's not only some of the things that, we hear more commonly, like arthritis and erectile dysfunction, but all these cardiovascular, these chronic diseases affect men and women. But we're going to, really focus on the men today.
Yeah, and we have to look a little deeper than what most people would. I mean, normally they just say testosterone. Yeah. Just testosterone. That's all it takes. Just have some testosterone. No, it's not.
You can see the aggression happening.
Oh, no. but we got to focus on the whole hormone production system, the whole endocrine system. That's why some of the products in the specials for the month you wouldn't normally think you'd see in a men's line, like the Fagro Complete. But you got to focus on the whole endocrine system. And it's not just about testosterone. It's also about what causes you to lose it. And many times that's elevated cortisol.
Right. Well, let's start with our first product. And I think this one is vital for men, especially with the numbers that we're seeing. And maybe the testing has gotten better and we see higher PSA levels on blood work. But our product, PSA, ironically, which is what it's called, doesn't stand for anything except what's on the test. But that's our advanced hormone support for men. So can you break down this?
So the prostate-specific antigens, a test that men will get, and generally lower is better, right? When we start creeping up to, I think it's about 4.0 is where we want to stay under. But I also, when we do testing and we look at it, I like to get a baseline and then look at a pattern over a period of time. Because you're at 3.5 and last year it was 6, that's really good.
Right. Yeah.
If you're at 3.5 and last year it was 2, maybe not so good. So we want to establish a baseline. It's always good to get testing done at least once per year, right? If you haven't had it done, we can prescribe it down at the Wellness Center with Dr. Phil or Dr. Orbach. You go to your doctor and just go to Quest, but get the blood work done at least once a year. Right. Then we want to look at patterns because we created the PSA because so many males have elevated PSA levels. And, oftentimes, they're not really sure what's causing that, right? It could be they have inflammation, prostatitis, right? They can have an infection. They can have, poor lifestyle. There's a lot of factors.
Tightening of the pipes.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of factors that play into this. But I think just getting some tests and then looking at a pattern over time to see what can we do. And some simple things like adding in PSA at only 2 caps per day, right? Increasing good essential fatty acids, lowering sugar and those things can have dramatic effects on it. So this is a compound formula that has multiple ingredients, including some PRTs, the patented research trademarked ingredients, including the Lyco-Red, which is a patented lycopene. So even eating some lycopene, nutrient-dense food like tomato paste and red peppers can have good effects.
Watermelon is great. But it sounds to me like a lot of what you're recommending would be the exact same lifestyle changes you would recommend for other major killers, such as cardiovascular disease. So we're really talking about inflammation, oxidative stress that creates some sort of dis-ease, correct?
Right.
So, Joe, tell me a little bit about Testo 180 in conjunction with PSA or as a standalone. Because just to go through the items that are on special this month, we have PSA, Testo 180, 7 flowers, which doesn't sound like a men's product, but it's absolutely incredible. Estro Cleanse and Thyro Complete. These are the products that we actually picked for men's health focus. So let's move into the Testo 180 a little bit. Tell me a little bit about that, Joe.
Testo 180 is designed to stimulate the body's production of testosterone. Okay, it's not a testosterone replacement. It's not synthetic, but it's got nutrients in it that, number one, will stimulate testosterone, stimulate your body to make it. Number two, increase circulation, which you need, and then number three, keep estrogen in check. So we do that with the series of herbs that are in there to increase and promote testosterone in the body, promote the production of it. And we use arginine to keep the circulation. And you keep waiting for me to say something, don't you? Yeah, I can see that smile.
I just feel like I'm like at an NFL game, like in between these
we
two
need
athletes.
A football,
And I'm like interviewing, like it's cool.
Is this tackle or two?
Yeah, right.
Either way, I'm good. I don't care.
Too much Testo 180 in this room.
And then the last component is the DIM to keep the estrogen.
Yeah, you brought up a good point. I think too many times people look at vitamins like a secret ingredient, right?
Right.
We put together more comprehensive formulas so you can eliminate a lot of guesswork. So you're looking at testosterone and hormone balancing. One is we got to increase the testosterone. So we use a couple of unique ingredients. Mm-hmm. One is Bulgarian Tribulus terrestris. So this will actually stimulate the luteinizing hormone in the testicles to produce testosterone. Okay. This has been proven for over 25 years. You got to use the right source of Tribulus. We use it a lot in the 90s for bodybuilding and fitness and powerlifting. A lot of athletes use it. So Tribulus is excellent because it will stimulate your body's natural production. Then you add in a great herb that's been around for years. They used to call it a hormone tonic, which is maca, right? And then you add in the horny goat weed.
My favorite ingredient.
Not surprised at all. So those three ingredients will increase testosterone. The second part is when we have issues with testosterone, we want circulation.
Right.
And you look at the connection with cardiovascular disease and circulation. You look at some of the erectile dysfunction drugs over time. They were actually blood pressure medication.
You're right. One of the most popular ones.
Yes,
right.
They were. That's what they were developed for originally. Yes. Yeah. Then they had this interesting side effect. Yeah.
Well, like a bonus.
You increase blood flow, you're going to increase it everywhere. That's the whole idea.
So from your toes to your nose, right? So we increase circulation everywhere. But arginine is great for nitric oxide production, right?
Right.
We use ginseng and ginkgo and these have so many benefits throughout the body. It's not just think about brain function. How many brain formulas do you see and circulation formula with these ingredients? So testosterone boost, we want to increase and improve the circulation. And as Joe had mentioned, those are great, but there's a very delicate balance between testosterone and estrogen. And if you don't have that balance, you can have some of the same side effects as low testosterone as you would high. So we use DIM, and they say if you don't put DIM in this type of formulation, the DIM, then it's DUM.
Interesting.
So tell us about DIM, Joe.
Yeah, DIM is an amazing nutrient. Originally, the precursor to it was indole-3-carbinol years ago, 20 years ago, before DIM was actually able to be available as a nutrient. But it's diindolylmethane. It comes from cruciferous vegetables, and it has a very unique ability to balance that ratio between free testosterone and estradiol in the body. So it's a balancer. It doesn't raise testosterone, lower estrogen. It keeps that ratio in check.
And that's another promotion for Tracey's, NF for Life, the lifestyle program.
Right.
And eating cruciferous vegetables. We always knew broccoli and Brussels sprouts and those types of things were good. We didn't know why, right? They were excellent for decreasing water, when you're getting ready for your competitions. And, they really help detoxify. We found out because they actually support phase 1 detox through the liver. And that's the first part of the hormone pathway where you usually run into problems.
Right.
So what happens if there's too much hormones there, you have a traffic jam, and they tend to proliferate into other tissues. You know, for male, it could be breast, it could be prostate, for female, of course, ovaries or uterus or breast tissue. So we want to make sure the hormones are processed through the body in a very healthy, controlled fashion. And DIM does that. It allows it to be processed through the liver without it going into tissues we don't want.
Not that I want to bring women into this, but I am.
Too
Could
late.
you use this product, Testo 180, for women?
Absolutely.
Sure can.
We have a client that actually calls this a hormone balancer that uses the Testo 180. So man or woman, it's fine. There's no concern because there's no real testosterone in there.
Right.
It'll stimulate the body to have that nice balance of the ratio of testosterone.
Maca has been used for years with women.
Right.
Yeah.
So I love how these formulas can cross the barriers. And talking about that, let's talk about Estro Cleanse, because you just touched on a point about directing estrogen the right way and an overabundance of estrogen. So what about this product? Because this has usually been promoted as a women's product, but it's not really a women's product.
Well, it's strong enough for a man, made for a woman, but can be used by both, right? It's another example of that. It's one of my secret weapons when I'm getting ready for summertime. I do notice a big difference when I experiment of using that and not using it, because if the estrogen for a male is higher, even for a woman, women tend to hold more weight in their legs and butt. And some guys like me that can be a little heavier, that's where they hold it, especially if it's estrogen-induced body fat storage. So the Estro Cleanse is fantastic. This was actually created by naturopath Dr. Franny Perez, close friend of Nutritional Frontiers and one of my mentors. She's actually a medical doctor, and she does homeopathy, right? And when she was first creating this formula for us, she says, look, you need to have these nutrients in. Now, we're not making any claims, but Dr. Franny would say, I'm trying to reduce people's risk of breast cancer, ovarian, and uterine cancer. It's just for a male, prostate cancer. I'm not making any claims, she said, but these nutrients will all help rebalance the hormones, because if there's too much, they're going to spill into these other tissues where we don't want them.
Correct.
And that's the idea of the Estro Cleanse. It's anti-inflammatory. It has things like curcumin, which is a patented research trademarked curcumin, right, the turmeric. And we also add the bioperine, right, the black pepper, which increased the absorbability by 30%. Those two ingredients alone is in our Turmeric Plus, right?
Right.
That's a whole product. Then we add in the I3C gel and the DIM. So it's a complete formulation. It's got all the nutrients you need in there. It's very comprehensive.
Well, you know, it addresses it from different angles. You know, you have, as I mentioned earlier, I3C, which reduces the DIM in the body. And then you have the third component, which is the calcium deglucarate. That they're all from cruciferous vegetables. They all work in the same pathway in the body, in the endocrine system. And that's, you know, the whole idea is to keep that balanced.
This almost sounds like a trifecta, like to have the Estro Cleanse, the PSA, and the Testo 180 together as a synergistic protocol.
Absolutely. You can combine those nutrients together. They work really well individually, or together you get the nice synergy of those formulas. I think the Estro Cleanse, regardless if you're doing Testo 180, if you're doing pellets, creams, whatever it may be, you got to use Estro Cleanse.
It's a good foundation.
Yeah, it's a great antioxidant and healthy aging for anybody really over 30 or 40. I know you're approaching that age, so this might be something we want to get her for Christmas, Joe, so she can get ready.
Okay, mine's way down. I passed it a long time ago. But, you know, it has also my favorite antioxidant in it. That's activin. Patented research form of trademarked. I'm sorry, it has resveratrol, not activin.
That's just because resveratrol is in wine.
Resveratrol. Yes, in the skin of the grape is where it comes from. So you want your wine to be organic.
Actually, Joe's like 107. He just looks great because of all the resveratrol that he drinks.
So, Tracey, let's go into that second trifecta of nutrients. Jamie mentioned curcumin. We have resveratrol, and we also have green tea. Now, all those three together, what do?
They're incredible antioxidants. They balance the sirtuin pathways. There's so many things that they do.
Well, hold on a minute. Sirtuin pathway. What are you referring to, Dr. Tracey?
That is any pathway that creates a rhythm. So it can be heart rate, it can be blood pressure, it can be circadian rhythms for sleep, it can be your blood sugar. Anything that the body has to balance works on sirtuin pathways, and there's 6 of them. And what really helps balance them is when you raise NAD in the system or in the body. And what does that through studies was resveratrol.
Yeah,
that's what they found back in the 60s with the mice, and they
mice.
put them on intermittent fasting. The
Yes.
poor little mice, they didn't know what
Yeah.
was happening,
David
but
Sinclair
they lived so
was the
much
guy.
longer.
Yeah, I remember his name, David Sinclair.
So
did all
at the
those
time, it was called the fountain of youth. That's
Yeah.
what they were saying, because these mice were living for so long. So we know that if we can increase NAD, we balance serotonin pathways. It reduces oxidative stress, reduces inflammation, reduces all of these inflammatory factors that can create hormone disruption, and helps us balance all of our natural rhythms, which are basically our vital rhythms that keep us alive.
I got rhythm. You got rhythm?
I got rhythm. I'm pretty good.
So the Estro Cleanse would be great to help with the ratio of testosterone and estrogen. Can help reduce your risk factors of some of these chronic conditions we're concerned with.
Absolutely.
It can reduce body fat levels, right?
True.
And it can give you the feeling that, hey, my testosterone is quote unquote higher, even though it may not be much higher. The fact that ratio is so much better.
And it's allowing you to use it.
Yeah.
Because that's the key, is the free testosterone. That's what it keeps in check.
Mhm.
Keeps that from being diverted.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I've been seeing some interesting stats on thyroid health in men. I think it's neglected. I think thyroid health is not checked in men as much as it is checked in women, and I think it's associated more with women. But I'm seeing a lot more men with thyroid issues, and really, if they have adrenal and or erectile dysfunction issues, they tell you to go back to the thyroid now.
And I
check
think
it.
you're hitting it right on the head, because it's not just the thyroid. It's the endocrine system.
Right.
It's the fat axis, right? The pituitary, the hypothalamus, the adrenals. Men are getting burned out just as much as women are right now.
More so.
And maybe it's happening a little higher on the chain than the thyroid itself. And everybody kind of neglects the pituitary and the hypothalamus, but we didn't.
That's right. We have Thyro Complete on here. Can you explain why we chose that product for men's health?
We chose it for men's health. You know, these things cross over. It's women's health, men's health, it's health in general, because both men and women have an endocrine system. We all have a pituitary gland, we all have a hypothalamus, we all have adrenals, and we all have a thyroid. We got to address them all as one system. That's what this does with the use of New Zealand glandulars, with the use of precursors, and what's the ashwagandha, right? That's patented.
That's one of my favorites.
Love that, right? And stimulate.
Sensorial.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you look at it, you know, if you're looking at the end result of testosterone, right, or estrogen, the sex hormones, you got to go back, right, and say, what's the precursor, right? What's the stepping stone? Well, it's thyroid, and what's before that? Adrenal.
Right.
And I think we're all running on adrenaline, right? It reminds me of the cell phone battery that's dead. You plug it in, and still doesn't get a charge. It's got to take some time. I think people are running on adrenaline. How do we know? People are stressed out in this day and age between all the politics, the health issues, finances, the economy. People are stressed out. They're running on adrenaline. So generally when they're running on adrenaline, what do they go for to stimulate? Sugar, caffeine, nicotine during the day, and then too much, I didn't say no, but too much alcohol at night. So this is a very common theme. How do you know? Well, if you live where I live, you just come down the hill in the morning, you see Dunkin' Donuts, the lines around the block, right? So people are getting their caffeine and sugar fix, right? So they're cranking themselves up. And I'm not against using a little bit of caffeine. I think it's overconsumption.
Right. When it becomes a crutch, or you have to have it throughout the day just to stay awake or alert. And, you know, I think the Adrenamax is great. It's not on our specials, but it is a great combination to the Thyro Complete. But you had mentioned the New Zealand glandular and the Sensorial. I mean, can you just go into those a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. So Sensorial is a patented ashwagandha. That's a great adaptogen. It gets the adrenal glands built up, right?
Yes.
It helps the adrenal glands recharge, right? It's going to get the cell phone charged up, because your adrenal glands really sit on your kidneys. They regulate things like sugar, salt, sex, all the sex hormones, and your craving. So if you're craving sugar, if you're craving salt, right? If your sexual function is on the decline, or you don't have that.
It's too bad that doesn't go up with adrenals. Just your cravings for sugar and salt. Sex goes down.
But
there's hope.
When we boost the adrenal glands, and in turn that feeds into the thyroid, then we have a better opportunity to help with
Yeah.
the sex hormones. Because I think Joe said it earlier, if you go right for the testosterone, yeah, you may get some benefit, but there may be some other pieces of the puzzle that will give you better results, better
Right.
long-term, with less potential side effects. So I always start with the adrenals. If you live in a USA or if you live in a stressful situation, right? We're all go, 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 go. And if you're giving a lot, you got to reboost your adrenal glands. If you don't do that, it's hard to do the other parts of the trifecta, which is adrenal, thyroid, and sex hormones. And Dr. Edwin Lee, he's a functional medicine medical doctor. He's a client of Nutritional Frontiers. And he went through this program at his seminar for us a few years ago and looked at the importance of building the adrenals and the thyroid. So I always go adrenals first.
Me too.
And the Thyroid Complete has both in there. I take that every morning. I can really tell if I don't take it. I've used the Adrenamax for months at a time. That's a nice formula too. But the Thyroid Complete combines the adrenal support with the thyroid support. So you do get, both formulations in one, plus the pituitary and hypothalamus.
All in one.
Let's hear a little bit about those, Joe, because I think we hear adrenal a little more, thyroid, the hypothalamus, pituitary. I know it stimulates growth hormone and those things, but
that's exactly right. The it's like a hierarchy. At the top is the pituitary, then the hypothalamus, the adrenals, and the thyroid, and they function as a system. So don't treat them separately. But the pituitary, is responsible for growth hormone.
Right.
Okay, the hypothalamus gland, that's more like that's what maintains homeostasis, keeps things balanced in the body. And then you have the adrenals, where you make your hormones as well, especially cortisol. You make, but that's a good point. What women should understand, that even after menopause, they still make hormones, right?
Right. I think they think everything just shuts down, and it doesn't.
It may feel like it does, right? For men and women.
For both,
seriously, Because we talk about menopause, but we don't really talk about andropause.
Right.
We need a little love here, right? Come on.
Well, I mean, it happens, and it's not discussed, and it's just maybe because it hasn't been so, difficult in the past when men go through it. But now I think we're seeing the andropause happening earlier with men, and so it's becoming more apparent in society. And so now they're asking, like, what do we do? Because men are going through it at 40.
I was saying, around 38 to 40 is when I felt the effects.
Dr.
Right?
Valerie Donaldson says she's seeing men in their 20s.
Wow.
Oh my God.
With testosterone.
Poor guys.
Right.
But I think the andropause affects not only the testosterone, but just the general feel and function, right? I noticed I was putting weight on, my energy levels were lower, my blood sugars were bad. It was like, what is going on here? And it went back to the adrenal and thyroid. We're getting burnt out on the road, running on adrenaline. This was a few years ago, and it was like, hold on. So I had to go to a functional medicine medical doctor to see, and he diagnosed me with thyroid issues, adrenal burnout, and a food allergy from soy.
We could have told you that.
Yeah.
We're like, we know you.
Yeah.
Well, great. So you can add that Adrenamax in as a complement with any of these formulas, because that starts at the top. That's your adrenal cortex.
And one caveat on the Thyroid Complete: more is not better on this.
That's right.
2 caps a day,
That's right.
first thing in the morning with water, with no food, is more than plenty. If you're a little smaller, a little more sensitive, start with 1.
Yeah,
Right.
I
1 to
normally
2
start
caps.
people with 1 just because it is so effective.
Yeah, very
It's so
strong
effective.
formula.
And people get great results within a couple of days. They're feeling great. Their energy's back. And then after about a few weeks, they notice their hair and their nails are all coming back, because that's usually a sign of dysfunction. They start losing weight naturally because their hormones are balancing. Great formula.
One last point on that: we use the glandules in there. So people say, well, what is this New Zealand or South American glandules? Depends on the ones we're using. So we use, my friend's dad that I've known for years in the field of nutrition and nutraceuticals. He's been around since the 70s, the 1970s, and he's the expert in the world on glandulars. So he imports the glandulars in the U.S., certain ones from New Zealand and certain ones from South America. So we're using the purified forms of the glandulars. So when we first created the formula, it's like, look, these are really strong. These work really well. 1 to 2 caps is all you need. So we're using the right types of ingredients and the comprehensiveness of this formula. You're going to get excellent results. And, this is something you can take for a period of time and continue to get results on.
Yeah, and it's awesome. All right, well, not the last product this month, but 7 Flowers. This is something that, again, it was kind of like Circucor when we repositioned that for all the things we saw with COVID. And, we saw the myocarditis and the blood clots and all of those things. And we saw that Circucor, which can be another great product for men to help with circulation, cardiovascular, increasing
Joe, do you
nitric
get the feeling
oxide.
she's going off the board here today?
No.
We're trying. Usually she's reeling us in.
I know.
We got to reel her in a little bit.
I know.
I think when she's live, she's,
I was like, just
I
step
think-
back.
I think she's a little nervous.
No,
it's okay.
That's all
I'm
right.
just
get the
afraid I'm
feeling.
going to get hit by all these hands. But I think Circucor, we brought that. And now we have 7 flowers, which we haven't really talked about. I mean, I don't even know when.
Dr. Weiner was one of the original
Yeah.
importers of 7 flowers. This is the original 7 herbs. It's been around for 1,000 years.
Oh,
I mean,
boy.
it's one of the first supplements ever, right?
Really?
And Joe was around when they first created the product. So, imported the product. So let's hear about the 7 flowers. So.
7 flowers is very it's a
Tough
very
crowd.
unique.
They made the first batch in the cave, right?
Yeah.
So
There's some hieroglyphics.
They ground up
it
those
was on the
7
wall, yeah,
flowers.
with the chalk on the wall. It's
Yeah.
still in some of those caves.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
a
can
little-
actually see Joe, making the 7 flowers. Go ahead.
All right.
It's a
okay.
pure herbal approach at relaxation, at relaxing the arteries so that blood will flow better. It's something that, my God, people have been using this form of tiny little tablets.
Yeah,
Tiny little
they
ones.
are. It almost looks
Right?
like homeopathy.
Almost
Yeah,
looks like
it is.
homeopathy, so you can kind of tell it's kind of close and related to that because you don't need a lot of it.
Right.
But combining these 7 has been the magic formula for a long time.
Hmm.
And some people can do 3 a day, some can do 3 twice a day,
Historically-
depending on where they're at with their blood pressure now.
Historically, what was it used for?
Relaxation.
Just relaxation in general.
Stress.
And then the direct effect of relaxing would
Yeah.
be
Lowered blood pressure.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
It gives
Exactly.
really nice, modest reductions in blood pressure, also eye pressure
and
and stress. So if it's a stress-induced elevated blood pressure, it's
Right.
going to work really well. We get great results. It's simple, it's easy, it's cost-effective, and it works probably in about 80% of people get
Yes.
immediate results.
Mhm.
And when you change your lifestyle, it probably can be 90%. But
And you want a 1-2 punch, you add Circucor in, so you get more nitric oxide. Open
and there's a lot of imitators out there. I know
Yeah.
a couple companies stopped selling their product, but we have the original 7 flowers. We're one of the few ones in the country that offer that formulation, and we've gotten great results. Doc used this thing. I think it was the first one he brought in for the last 30 plus years in his wellness center.
Wow. Well, there you go. There's another one that we haven't heard about for a long time, and we're bringing it back. 7 flowers. It doesn't sound like a male product, but it is. It works really great. And when I used to carry it in my clinic, I would scale it. So I would give, the recommended dose on the bottle, and then I would say increase by 1 or 2 every few days to get the desired result. And people within weeks were like,
I think
feeling
one of
great.
the reasons we really wanted to include this is because when men, we see it all the time down at the wellness center, they come in, they're on multiple blood pressure medications. Guess what one of the adverse direct effects of those medications is?
tell us, Joe.
Erectile dysfunction.
Right.
And then you have to go on another drug to fix that. So we know the whole thing, right?
Mhm.
But basically, yes, blood pressure meds are one of the biggest culprits for attacking men's sexuality.
Yeah, and it also one of the things that raises blood pressure. So when you're taking these medications, you can be very careful. It can be as simple as a magnesium deficiency, because magnesium helps muscle, including the heart, relax. So be careful when you just blindly take. I often see people come in. What about when in your practice? Do you see people coming in with multiple blood pressure
Oh, yeah.
medications, 2 and
2 or
3?
3 stacked because
Yeah.
this one didn't work, so
Yeah.
they gave them another one, and then they gave them another one. So they're usually on multiple things, and that's where the PDF, which I love, the physician's desk reference, which is like this thick now. There's so many medications out there, but people always ask me, Jamie, will this interfere with my medication? And what do you say? I know what I say.
I say, well, one of the side effects, let's look up the side effects together on your computer, on your phone. One of the side effects is death. So we really hope the medication is interfered with by the supplement, right? Because we don't want you to die. Now, look, we have a lot of fun when we do. If your blood pressure is astronomically high, 160 over 100 or higher, there may be some short-term recommendations you do
Absolutely.
need because we're concerned with strokes or heart attacks. However, there's been plenty of studies we've looked at over the years. Just looking at 30 days of walking can have modest reductions in blood pressure. A good friend of our family's, we went to dinner recently, and I said, "Oh, you look good. What's going on?" He says, "I cut out soda. I dropped almost 20 pounds. My pain's gone. and
Said
my
no
blood
woman
pressure."
ever.
Yeah.
Like, man, they're like, I thought about losing weight and magically it fell off my
He
body.
cut the soda out. She didn't
Ain't
hear
that
that
It
part.
much.
happens.
He cut
Come
the
on,
5
Not
cans
that
of
easy.
soda
Hit the
out.
chat. You know it's true. You know it's true. Yeah. So
So
that's a great thing because just by lifestyle
little
change.
things.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be everything,
Right.
right? You can do baby steps along the way to get the results. You don't got to do everything at once.
Right.
Adding more water and changing what you're drinking. If you're doing multiple coffees, alternating with the water or a green drink, those types of things can have dramatic effects over a period of even 30 days.
Yep.
You know, what about the exercise, right?
Right.
You would think, that may raise blood pressure. Actually, it balances blood pressure because it gets your heart stronger when you're doing the cardiovascular training or the weight training. So there's so many great things you can do with the lifestyle. And if you need that medication short term, we understand. But the goal long term isn't to stay on these things forever. And when they start compounding 2 and 3 meds, that's a really dangerous situation.
Right.
Because now
They've never been tested that or studied that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've never been polypharmacy. So we want to, highly concerned when we're doing that. Could be very dangerous. So we got a lot of strategies to manage the blood pressure, the lifestyle, the exercise, the supplements, what you're drinking and eating. They all have a lot of impact on a daily basis. And they may not change it today, but when you start factoring those in and layer them in each day and week and month, you can have incredible results in as short as 30 to 90 days.
Well, normally what I say is you didn't get sick overnight. You didn't get to this state of dis-ease overnight. It's going to take some time to get healthy again, and it's not going to happen overnight. So the last, but certainly not least, product that is on special, it's actually free, is a sample of sleep time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why would we give a sample of sleep time, Joe, as part of a men's health promotion?
Because in order for you to do all these wonderful things we're going to enhance with these protocols, you have to sleep. And you got to be in a REM sleep. You make growth hormone. You make all of your hormones. Your body repairs. It recovers during sleep, during a REM sleep. So we want people to get a good night's sleep. That way the body will start the process of making growth hormone, and everything starts to recover. Mitochondria repairs, turns over, all of that. If you're not sleeping and getting into the double Ds,
that's the best study I ever looked at. If you want to do a scientific study of your house, do it on double Ds.
That's right.
So you want to dream and drool. Is that what you were thinking?
Absolutely.
Dreaming and drooling?
Yeah.
Dreaming
So
and drooling.
that's an easy way to know if you're in that REM sleep, because that's where all the repair and detoxification goes on.
That's right.
So oftentimes people will take something over the counter, a prescription, help them fall asleep or keep them asleep. But the sleep time is very unique because it does both.
Yeah.
The other issue when we're taking over-the-counter prescription sleep aids is that we normally build a tolerance, right?
Yes.
People start taking the over-the-counter, Tylenol PM, they combine it with alcohol, then they're going into Ambien, all these things. You build a tolerance to these things, so you need more and more and more. The great thing about sleep time is you don't. It starts rebalancing your dopamine and serotonin, and people notice they may need a little bit less over time.
Yes.
So I'm in that 2 to 3 caps a night, but not every night zone. It works really well for me. It helps me fall asleep and stay asleep. And it's a lifesaver, especially on the road or if you're traveling a lot. But, a lot of my clients will take that when they need it. And then maybe on the weekend, they don't need it as much. So you can use it as you need it, or you can take it for chronic, but you won't need to increase the dosage. One thing, if the sleep time, it works in 90% of people like that, right? Use 1 cap about an hour before bed. If that don't work, increase by 1 cap a night till you get to 2 or 3. You won't need more than that. In the rare case it doesn't work, it's because we have an elevated level of cortisol at night. They're stressed and wired. Like, I can't shut my brain off. If that's the case, we need to rebalance cortisol with things like Thyroid Complete or Adrenamax first thing in the morning.
Right. And that's why we always have a protocol. That's why we always have a series or a suite of products, right? It's not about a product or an ingredient. It's about a protocol.
Yeah, absolutely. And even with people that I've recommended sleep time that didn't have sleep issues, when they take it and they fall asleep and they get into the dreaming and drool, they wake up and they're like, I didn't even realize I wasn't sleeping well.
That happens often, right? You give somebody Probzyme and, I didn't know I had any bloating, right?
Right.
You give them some sleep. Wow, I slept like a baby last night, you know?
Yep.
And it works quick and fast. We had some new people on our team. They came into town. We told them to take one. They're like, I can't believe the difference. So sometimes as little as one capsule will do the trick. And we have two versions of it. We have the sleep time, and then we have the calm day. For some people are sensitive to melatonin, they can do the calm day. So you have a couple of options there, but most people do really well with sleep time.
Yeah, it's a great formulation, and it is free. You get a free 8-count with every purchase.
Wow.
So purchase as many times as you want, and we will send you a free sample. But Jamie, last and certainly not least, we have a new product launch this month.
Drum roll.
I don't have a drum.
This is where is this the
This is the new product. This
There's
is
so many.
Live Complete. We just launched this, and we were back there, and Mike Gallagher, our outside sales professional for the Pittsburgh area, he said, well, what is this? What's the difference? And he said, it's kind of like lean greens in a capsule. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. So it's full support in nutrifying the liver. Also, phase 1 through, this says phase 4 detoxification.
We're going to warp speed, Sula.
So
we're going to
give us a little summation on this incredible new product.
Yeah, look at this. Is Live Clear 1, 2, and greens in a capsule, right? We wanted to give the new version what is some of the new technology and new research showing. So one of the key nutrients in here is glutathione.
Yeah.
I actually have a book on my desk about glutathione. It's a master antioxidant of the body and the liver, right? So all these other precursors, DMG and taurine and glutamine and NAC, they all build glutathione in the body, right? So you may not be real efficient at building glutathione. You may be overexposed to toxins, right? So it's a perfect storm that's going on. So the challenge with glutathione is oral absorption is tough. So they come out the liposomal, and that's got a double thumbs down. It smells like rotten eggs. It tastes like rotten eggs. No one's going to do it. I know there is injectable glutathione, but that's a little less, a little more expensive, and it takes some time. So for one of our partners, our patented research trademark partners, all the way from the homeland of Italy, Joe, Gnosis.
No wonder.
They're doing a great job with the active folate. We use some of their other ingredients, right? The BioOptima, the probiotic, and they come out with the Imodium. So what they found with the Imodium, compared to regular glutathione and NAC, over 140% better absorption.
Wow.
It gets in the blood, gets in the tissue, and actually is highly bioavailable, between 59 to 62% better than just regular oral glutathione.
Wow, that's awesome. And there's also things in here like vitacholine, curcumin, both patented trademarked ingredients. Do you want to touch on those a little bit?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these are nutrient. We've used these in combinations like this before, like in Live Clear. But when you bring in something like a patented form of curcumin, now you know that the body's going to absorb it and use it and decrease that inflammation that could be involved there. But what I love is also you have the chlorella in there, and that is a major chelator. That means.
What do you mean by chelator? I hear that word all the time. Let's talk to the people out there and explain what is chelator and why that's so important. Chlorella, right?
Yeah,
now everything's a superfood.
No, it's not. But this is one of the two superfoods. There's spirulina and chlorella, and they're called chelators because the word chelate comes from a Greek word that means to claw. So it's kind of scraping those toxins out of the tissues and allowing the body to eliminate them. So it's a major. When you hear the word chelation, you could do it orally, you can do it intravenously. Okay, but this is
I like the oral version.
I like oral, and this one has the components you need to get through each phase of detoxification.
You may not realize it, but in the last 100 years since DuPont came out, right, we've been exposed to about 5 generations of toxicity. So with evolution, our bodies would take about 5 generations. So we're about 3 generations behind. So we can't keep up with what we're exposed to. That's
Right.
why we need some of these really key nutrients, right? Like the chelating effect with the chlorella, because without that, we're exposed to things our body doesn't know how to get rid of.
Yeah, I mean, our liver would normally get rid of these toxins, but it gets overworked because we bombard it with every toxin under the sun. So it needs help. And then so if it can't get rid of these toxins, it deposits them in the fat cells. And then those fat cells can't be burned as energy. So now you have a perfect storm. So with a formula like this, you pull them back out of the toxins, get them back into the liver, give the liver the nutrients it needs to get them excreted, and then finish it off through the bowel and the bladder.
I think sometimes some of these nutrients, it's just vitacholine. Well, it's not just vitacholine, right? The vitacholine is a patented research trademarked ingredient from our friends at Trax, right? Albion Minerals. And the vitacholine is really interesting because it has the ability to not only help with brain function and detoxify the brain, but it has the ability to pull fats out of the liver and convert them to ATP production.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit, like, as far as when you see patients and in your practice, how often do you see things like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease?
All the time. And that's actually macrophage activity around the liver, where the organ is literally having an immunological response to itself. So they call it fatty liver. It's because it does look like there's fat deposits on it, but it's actually an immune response to either toxicity or nutrient deficiency. And I was going to say, Jamie, because Dr. Richard Silva came and did a professional training event for us, and he talked about young boys that had, basically breasts.
Gynecomastia.
Yeah, and he's talked about that being liver congestion with these young men.
Wow.
And when we came out with this, I thought this would be a game changer for young men who are experiencing that, because if that disruption of that hormone pathway starts that early, how much longer is it going to go, and where is it going to go? So there's nothing that's disconnected from something else. I mean, we can look at just this formula, Live Complete, apply it to hormone issues, cardiovascular issues, digestive issues, detoxification issues. I mean, you have to have a healthy liver. It's one of the main detoxification pathways of the body. So
yeah, I love the
great
formula. We worked on this for quite a while. I'm very proud of the team for bringing this out so quickly. And I think this is one of those game-changing formulations, right?
It's for a lot of people that wanted the Emothian but didn't want the powder greens. Now they have an option.
So I love it. Lean greens in a cap, otherwise known as Live Complete. It's a simple and easy way. And, I think sometimes, again, in the field, there's so much focus on just one ingredient, right? We like the synergy of all these ingredients together because that's how the body works. You have, 8 different pathways for phase 2 in the liver, right? From sulfation all the way to glucuronidation, methylation, right? So you need all these different nutrients because they work in concert together. When you only have one nutrient, it may have some benefit, right? Everyone goes after milk thistle. But you need all these other ingredients together because you need different pathways to clear different toxins out. And we looked at the studies from the EPA going back to 1982. Were you even born then? No, she wasn't even born. Yeah, she was a little baby, right? So in 1982, the EPA did a study on 33,000 people in about 44 cities in the U.S., and they did a study looking at the fat tissue, and they wanted to see what percentage of people had these toxins in them. So things like plastic, solvents, perfumes, dioxins, and they found 100%.
Wow.
Is it better today or worse than it was in 82?
That's what I was going to say. Milk thistle was fine 25, 30 years ago. Now you need so much more because of how toxic and sick we are.
Well, Jamie, isn't that the same study that looked at the babies?
Yeah.
Found that there was
the umbilical cords?
Yeah. How many
200 known carcinogens in the baby. So we live we're swimming in a sea of toxicity, right? And it's like something. Well, what about, like you said, the product? That product was great in 1950s, right? Maybe not so great in 2021. So we're always evolving at Nutritional Frontiers. The technology is changing. The patented research trademarked ingredients are constantly getting better. We source these things from as far away as Italy. Would be a good field trip for us to go to.
Yeah,
meet
I
with
think
the
so.
team again.
Yeah, we have to go
So
see
we're
the
gonna go there.
manufacturing facility where they grow it out there. I'm sure it's out by the vineyards.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
So these are great formulations. We're
Raspberry.
really excited about it because we know we're going to help a lot more people.
Absolutely.
And these are very unique formulations too. So generally, when you look at other brands, you probably have to take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or more products to get the same benefit.
That's right. So that's it, guys. Men's Health all through November, 13% off all of these products. Every order gets a free sample of Sleep Time. It's going to be amazing. It's time to change your health, guys. Today's the day to make that choice. You're either going to invest in your health or it's going to become an expense, right, Joe?
That's right.
So one last
now
word,
or
we
pay
want to
me
mention
later.
the streaming we're doing twice a
Oh,
week.
absolutely. You can
Don't
catch
forget
us
it.
2 times a week now at 11
We can
a.m.
catch her, Joe. Got to hold tight. She's slippery.
At 11 a.m. on Mondays and Fridays. Mondays is the Jamie and Joe show, the Wow Hour.
Wow
Jamie
Hour.
and Joe. And then on
Which is the
longest
longest running episodic duo healthy talk show on the air today.
True story.
And the
Chris.
most entertaining.
Most entertaining.
Yeah. Well,
But now,
however,
Uh-oh.
at 11
Uh-oh.
on Fridays is the Wow Hour, Women on Wellness with myself, Dr. Tracey, and Dr. Ashley Rossi from Wow. And she is an amazing naturopathic doctor who you can make an appointment with there if you like. But she's going to be on with me every Friday at 11. And together we are going to talk all about men's health, the way women.
If you need a special guest, me and Joe are available.
No, you're not allowed in. No,
we'll be in the audience
no
going, wait a
boys
minute.
allowed. No boys allowed. All right, guys. Well, thank you so
Well,
much.
thanks so much.
been
Awesome job
awesome.
as always. I appreciate all the support. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at our next event. And if you have any questions, you can email us or text us, right?
Absolutely. Get in touch with us. If you're a healthcare professional, establish an account at www.nutritionalfrontiers.com. Just create that account and one of our inside sales professionals will get there and flip it for you so that you get great pricing with us so you can take care of more people, more patients. And men, it's time to get healthy. You're being
And
called
if you're
out.
watching this and you're a consumer, you can get all of these great formulas at WOW, at the World of Wellness.
Mhm.
Give us a call, 412-922-9355, or go online, drweiner.com. You can get every one of these formulas right down there.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much. Have a great night and God bless.
See you guys. Coming close to shut it off.
There we go. We want